Hello, and welcome to the Patients Getting Paid podcast, where I interview people with chronic illnesses that have found ways to make money that accommodate their health and experts that can teach us all how to do it better. I'm Kathy Reagan Young, host of the Patients Getting Paid podcast and creator of the soon to launch Patients Getting Paid online course. If you haven't already, head over and get on the waiting list for the course. And you'll also receive a weekly newsletter with tips and tricks for creating a chronicpreneur lifestyle and a list of gigs available that week. Sign up at patientsgettingpaid.com/list. Today's guest is Whitney West, the speaker, coach, and advocate who was diagnosed with a chronic illness in 2014 that almost took her life and added to her debt. Whitney now uses her platform to transform the lives of ambitious women with chronic illness by demolishing their barriers to abundance. Whitney has enjoyed helping women with chronic illnesses take back control of their lives and assisting those who need help with their budgeting and debt get back on the right financial track. She believes that living a life you love shouldn't exclude the chronically ill. I agree. Welcome, Whitney.
Hi, thank you for having me today.
Thank you for being here. This is such an interesting topic.
Yes,
This is like
very
a
much.
hot button topic. So, before we get into debt and all of that, which we all know a lot of if we've got a chronic illness, if you would
Oh
please
yeah.
just share the story of you. Who are you? Whatever you're comfortable in your background, what makes you you?
Yeah, so I'm Whitney, of course, and I'm the oldest of three sisters. So I grew up in a house of women. It was me, my sisters, my mom, my grandmother, and my great grandmother. Sh
Wow, lots of
yeah.
estrogen in that house.
Oh, absolutely. My great grandmother was alive until I was a senior in high school.
Oh my gosh, what a
Yes.
blessing.
So she
Oh,
lived
that's
to
great.
be 103.
Oh my gosh.
Yes. Yes.
Wow.
So, yep, had a
Strong
lot
women
of
in your family, huh?
exactly, exactly. So, and a family of educators as well. My grandmother, she was the baby, and so by the time she came about, women were going to college more often. So she has a
Yay.
college degree, and so I'm third generation college student from that. But they were teachers, so that was like the first thing. Teaching people, not about it. That's
Yeah.
what my like.
Check.
Not gonna
Don't need
be
to look at that again. Yeah.
education. Never do that.
Right.
But
Right. And here we
from
are.
there, yeah, exactly. I was growing up in Arkansas and a pretty good student, if I say so myself. And then I got recruited to go to a boarding school in New Jersey. So at
Mm.
15, I left home and I went
Oh,
to boarding school
oh
in
my
Lawrenceville, New
God.
Jersey.
Wow.
Yes.
You were a badass early on.
Yeah, so that was a very like transformative experience, and it's like really when I realized that I could do like hard things and like
Yeah.
kind of the way I thought was kind of different. So at that time I was so in love with like Princeton University, but
Mm.
Princeton was literally down the street from my high school. Like we went to Princeton on the weekends. And
Wow.
I remember thinking I don't want to stay in this same bubble. Like I'm
Mm.
comfortable here. And so
Mm-hmm.
I need to get out of that and like go somewhere else. And so I
Mm.
ended up in DC at George Washington University. And
Yay.
so
I'm a DC
I
girl. I grew
oh
up in
yeah,
DC. Yeah,
did
I even took
you?
some classes at GW. Uh-huh.
Yeah, so I
Yeah.
ended up at GW where I got my bachelor's and my master's. And then DC, the area just sucks you in, right?
It
So I
does.
stayed
Yeah.
there for years. Funnily enough, because I graduated from my master's in the middle of the recession in 2010, I graduated. And I was working during getting my master's in at GW. So I
Mm.
couldn't get a security clearance because my master's is in computer forensics at
Oh.
the time. So I said,
Oh.
okay, let's continue with this education thing and see what happens. I'll hop over back
Right.
into crime like after. And I just got into the administration, like the business practices part of higher education, and found out I was really good at it. And
Good, good.
I've been there ever since, working in education.
Yeah, the thing you said you wouldn't do. And so that's
Yeah,
in your blood. That's in
exactly.
your blood, right? Yeah. So my dad was a teacher, and that was something I was not particularly interested in either. And so now here I am creating an online course. It's a different take on it, but I'm still teaching.
Exactly. I started tutoring, and then like now with teaching people, it's just like Oh my gosh. And I'm like a very big person. We'll talk about it more on like developing self and like learning about myself through like different tools and like strength finder, like
Oh
human
yeah.
design and things like that. And if you look at the careers for like my top few strengths, they're all teacher, coach, strategist, all that kind of stuff. And
Mm-hmm.
like they're also about problem solving. So it like makes perfect sense why I do so well in the registrar area, being able to dig into history,
Right.
implement policies, make changes, and then coaching and supporting people. It like all
Yeah.
works together. I'm like, who
It
knew
all
that?
works
Who knew I
together.
was designed
Yeah.
for this?
Yeah, right. Well, yeah, you were. And you can run, but you can't hide from your destiny, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Um, so okay, this is the Patients Getting Paid podcast. So let's start with that aspect of your life. Would you share the story of your journey to your chronicpreneurism?
Yes. So I have been the type of person who's been on social media since social media first social media'd.
Mm-hmm.
I was writing blogs on Zanga when they were a lot more personal back in the day. I was in the first round of people on Facebook when it was only college students and everything.
Uh-huh.
So I've been around and I've
Yeah.
been blogging on different things for forever. YouTube and like all that kind of stuff, going through all kind of different iterations. So I was doing that for a while, but then, when you start working a real job after college, it's like, okay, I moved up into a supervisory role now, don't have as much time to play on
No
Twitter all
time.
day
Right.
and to
Right.
write blog posts, because at that point, it still wasn't something that was like profitable.
Right.
And so I kind of let it go some, but I started to get back into it shortly before I started to get sick. And so it was kind of a moment where I was just like, okay, I'm diagnosed with this new thing. My life is kind of changing. It was the way I announced to everybody like what had been going on.
Mhm.
And people were just like very interested in my voice on things because I can make a lot of stuff funny. Because funnily enough, when I first got diagnosed, it was the whole Ebola thing. I was like, worst case, it's not Ebola. So,
Right. Right. Right.
you
Right.
know,
Yeah.
and so things like that I would talk about, but I still was not at a place where I was like, I need to talk about chronic illness. I
Mhm.
was fighting it. And so I was just like, I'm just going to talk about my regular life. If that comes in, it does.
Yeah.
But it just kept like pulling on me. And these
Whitney, do
were,
you see the pattern here? Just like the education, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. Then I'm not getting into chronic illness stuff online, and then
at all.
you
And
can
then
run,
we
but you
go.
can't
I
hide.
can't hide. And I thought I was going to be talking about the finance part. I thought that was going to be my thing because
Mhm.
I started to try to get out of debt before I got sick and was like essentially $1,000 away from like financial ruin.
Oh
Luckily, I had a
gosh.
cousin who played for the NFL and he was just like, here, what do you need? Just
Oh,
take care of
nice.
it. And so that was like, okay, it doesn't matter what's going on. Like, I need to like once I get to a place where I feel like I can like get back on the financial track so that I'm okay because I know things are going to come up now.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
I thought that that was going to be my thing, talking about getting out of debt, the money and the finances. But people were just like, there's more to this story. And I
Mhm.
was just like, no, no, no. there's this, I mean, it's there, but no.
Yeah.
And then I kind of got to the point where just evaluating it and things I talked about and things I loved. It's like, this all revolves around the same thing. And I want to help women with chronic illnesses. And even that, I still wasn't really like vibing with it. It's like, okay, the chronic illness community can be very special at times and it can kind of go up and down in waves. And it's like, I don't identify with a particular segment
Mhm.
that is a more of like, oh, woe is me, it's down because I'm not
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
And so it was becoming more of a drain to convince people that they can when they're kind of inundated with can't.
Yeah.
And so I got to a point where I went to talk to women with chronic illnesses who are like me, who
Mhm.
know that they can be ambitious, but may not have all the tools to do all the things like I can do. And
Mhm.
obviously, I have a skill set here because I say I do the most despite it all. I work
Mhm.
full time, I run this business, and I am a current doctoral student and
Good
also
gracious.
a auntie to the best little 3-year-old niece ever. It
Oh.
takes up a lot of my FaceTime time. But I managed to do that all and still have a favorite hobby of napping. So
Oh,
yes,
yeah.
you can nap and do all of
Yes.
this.
Good. That's good to hear because I can't imagine when in your day you fit that in, but I'm glad to hear you do.
Oh,
So,
absolutely.
this is all super interesting. And what I find even more interesting is that in all this talk about you and your background, not once have you disclosed, and I don't mean it that way, but I just think it's indicative of the person that you are. You haven't talked about or identified what you're suffering from, what you're dealing with. And it just seems like that's almost an afterthought in your world, which is really good. And I think that speaks to
Hmm.
what you were saying. That's not, it doesn't, define you, and you ran from it for a time. And so,
Yeah.
but you recognize that the chronic illness part is kind of the hub, and then you can teach. But do you mind sharing with us what you've
Yeah,
got going on?
absolutely. Yeah, like you said, it's kind of become like an afterthought, and it's like it wasn't. Also, to let people know, that wasn't immediate. It was the
Yeah.
point where if you're watching the video of this, I wear oxygen, and I wear oxygen 24/7. But initially, if I went through the drive-through, I'll take it off because I know people will look.
Oh,
Or if I went into the store, I might leave it in the car because I'm not like 100% dependent. Like I can
uh-huh.
gauge where my body is, and I'm actually apparently a lot better than that at most people. I know how to calm my body down, and I know how to read
Mm.
the triggers in my body. My doctor was like, I haven't seen anything like this.
Wow. Yeah. Very
And
cool.
so I'm able to like hop off of it. But like at a certain point, it took me figuring out like, no, like this is helping you. I don't care what anybody else says. They can look if they want to. How
Right.
you doing? Like,
Right.
okay.
Right.
So yes, I have a rare chronic illness that's called fibrosing mediastinitis, and only a few hundred people have it.
Gosh.
So there's no research, no treatment plans, no cure, of course. And it manifests in people's bodies very differently. How it's been in my body is to stop some of the oxygenated blood flow from my lungs. So my oxygen levels drop. So
Mm.
especially when I'm moving around or doing things like talking or eating, which a lot of people don't realize how much oxygen you use then, I need the
Yeah.
assistance
Yeah.
of the oxygen so that my levels stay at a decent level.
Yeah.
Um, so I have that, which is always already caused some pulmonary hypertension.
Mm.
And I've always had higher blood pressure, even when I've lost weight. And my
Mhm.
doctors really couldn't figure it out, but it was
Now
because
we know.
something was causing the pressure to increase
Yeah.
in my body. And recently, I also found out because I collect rare things. Apparently, I should add that to my resume. I
Yeah,
haven't.
right?
I have the pressure is also in my head, so it's idiopathic intracranial hypertension. So I'm looking into figuring out how to best deal with that and treat that as well.
You are an overachiever in every area of your
Everything.
life.
If girl, if you gonna be different, be all the way different. Let's rack
Wow.
them up.
That's right. So you're an overachiever and exceedingly rare. You're a fine
Very
gem,
much,
a rare
very much
gem.
so.
I like it. Um, okay, so wow, that is a lot. And everything you've got going on, I'm just so inspired by you that there's not an ounce of give up in you. There's
Yeah,
not
no,
an, I
absolutely not.
mean, good that you can take a nap now and again, but I can't imagine when. You're so dang busy, but good, good on you.
Yeah, I
Um,
make time. Yeah, I'm my prized possession. So like I can't do all these
love that.
things if I'm not taking care of myself. I This is what I like try to teach people too. You have to serve others and do other things from a place of overflow and abundance because you're creating thieves and other people if you're digging into your baseline to give them things. So I try to serve from after I'm already filled up.
Oh my God. Are you going to be dropping these information, wonderful bombs the entire time? This is fabulous. I need to be writing. I'm so glad I'm recording this so I can come back and listen. You're so
Absolutely.
inspirational. Um, so okay, this is the PGP podcast. Let's get to that aspect. What is
Yes.
the journey of your chronicpreneurism? How did you get to that, and what exactly do you do in your business?
So yeah, so after I really determined that it was the ambitious woman, and that was actually really recently because my thing is like you have to do to really determine what really works for you. And last year I released a
Right.
course that was the um, about like flawless living. So it's the flawless life edit. And it was for anybody with a chronic illness who kind of had to work through what was going on in their life and then also creating a vision for their life and figuring out how to really edit that. And then as things changed in their life. And I realized as we were going through that, it was a lot to go through the first part for a lot of people. There were a lot of emotional breakthroughs and things, and they weren't quite ready for the second part. And it
Mhm.
was also very draining to go through that first part. So I then realized I needed to split these up. And I didn't know if I was in a place to handle like the full emotional total of the first part all the
Mhm.
time. So I said,
Yeah.
let me focus on this later half to really help people set their visions, um, align with what they're doing, like identify roadblocks, and then kind of set out a plan for their lives. And that is what led to me creating what will soon be the Ill Influence group coaching program. And so
Loving
this
it.
will be for ambitious women with chronic illnesses who are either mid to upper level in their careers, 9 to 5, or entrepreneurs who know that they want to do it all, but they're kind of stuck in a place of, I say, autopilot, where they're like, I know
Mm.
this is the level I can hover at, but
Yeah.
I want to go higher, but I
I'm
don't feel like I
comfortable
can.
right here.
Yeah, I don't feel like I can, but I know I want to, because
Yeah.
they haven't figured out the systems to help them go further, because they know that they can be one activity away from a flare or getting
True.
sick. And
Yeah.
so I just want to help them with the tools and resources and strategies that I've developed so that I don't overwork myself while doing the most, so that they can put some of those into their lives and achieve all the things that they felt like they've always wanted to do.
Oh my gosh, you are amazing. I can't wait to I'm putting all this in the show notes, everybody that's listening, and we'll have clickable links so you can find her and she can be your coach and I'll see you in that program, peeps. Um, that's fantastic. So can you talk a little bit about the impact of your business to your chronic illness? I would assume so this is a side hustle. Just to be clear, we were
Yes,
talking about that you are full time in education and you are just starting with LSU. Is
I
that okay
am.
to
Yes, yes,
say that?
that's fine.
Go Tigers.
Yes.
Yay. Yes, love the purple and the gold. Um, so you're doing that full time. You're a doctoral student
Hmm.
and you're doing this business and you have a
Yes,
chronic illness.
yes,
No big deal. So so this is kind of a side hustle for you?
yes. But I am very much so projecting that this year, with all the things that I plan to launch and create, that I may overtake my full time salary.
Gotcha. Wow. That's so cool. That's so
Yeah,
cool.
that is the goal for this
Yeah,
year.
I love that goal. And so so many of my questions don't make sense for you because so many of the people that I interview have sort of started something after their
Mm,
illness and they're finding that their full time was too much and so they
hmm.
are trying to find flexible remote work that they can do from anywhere so they can take better care of themselves. It seems like you did it the other way around and you are packaging things that and you're making sure that everything works together and you I love the way you put it about taking care of yourself so that you can
Hmm.
have, left over to help others. Um,
Yeah.
but, a lot of what I advocate a chronicpreneur lifestyle for is because it does give you an opportunity. It's flexible enough and it's your call, right? So and I'm sure you can speak to this part because, although it's not full time, it sounds like it could be soon if you want it to be, but yet I'm confident based on what you're telling me anyway, like now you recognize if you get to not feeling well, you need a nap. I mean, it's your gig. So like you can take a nap, right?
Yeah.
Like that's part of the beauty of chronicpreneurism is when you can get better in touch with your own health and start
Hmm.
recognizing some of these things and then step up and be able to take care of them. And like for me, not having to ask for time off if I'm not feeling well or not having to ask for time off when I go to a doctor's appointment or something like that is just
Mhm.
huge. That stressor was, it was unnecessary, really.
Yeah, and I find a lot of people have that. And originally, when I was kind of mulling over what I wanted the program to look like, I was gonna do a separate one for 9 to 5ers and a separate one for
Yeah.
entrepreneurs. But as of now, I'm gonna merge them, and I may have separate offerings because it's kind of different. And I got
Mhm.
to the place where I advocate for myself so fiercely, like I dare you to say no when I need something. It's like to the
That's
point of
great.
it's like I look, I have this time and I don't need a question or anything about what I'm gonna be doing with it. And so I freely take off if it's like, just I don't feel well today. I need to take a rest. Or I'll
Right.
say like if I were going, I had a couple years ago a conference where it was like an hour away. So I had to drive there and back a couple days. I said, oh yep, working from home Friday. Like no
Yeah.
questions
Right.
asked. But it
Right.
was just like to the point where I know certain people at different points in their career haven't started their career when they get sick, so it's kind of hard, and it's even hard if you're at the top of your career. But you have protections, um, regardless, that you can enact, and it's like I've also made myself so invaluable at my jobs that they're not gonna do well if they got rid of
Right.
me.
Without
um,
you.
yeah,
Yeah.
I mean,
Smart.
and that's I mean, I've noticed it because I do great work, but also I know when I'm leaving, there's usually a panic
There's a
because
deficit.
Whitney
Yes.
is gone.
Right.
So
I
I
get it.
know just with that level of work that I'm able to do for them that I have the ability to even more so ask for what I deserve. It's not that I'm wanting something. I am deserving of to be able to live my life healthily, go to the doctor, get rest because also if I'm not resting, I can't work for you either.
Right. That's exactly right. So, I'm trying to shift these questions on the fly because this is not sort of your main thing, but and I recognize you may not have an answer to this because you're not in this position yet, but maybe you can,
Mhm.
maybe I kind of have a feeling, Whitney West, that you've thought this through. So if you were to go full time with this, how would you handle healthcare? How would you handle insurance? Have you given that some thought?
Yeah. So my
Of
plan
course
is
you have.
I still
Of
I still
course
have a
you
little
have.
bit of credit card debt. So my first plan is to get that all paid off. Then I want to recalculate my monthly expenses and save 6 to 12 months of expenses while also simultaneously saving 3 to 5 years of healthcare costs. And then hopefully I meet somebody's rich son so that then I can marry him and get on
There's
his
that
health insurance
plan. Yeah,
plan.
that's
In the
worked out for a lot of
meantime,
people. Yeah.
in the meantime, to get on somebody's son's health insurance.
Yeah.
Um, and if if that doesn't happen, I hope to have enough saved up, including my 12-month will include a monthly fee for health insurance, but I also want to have a reserve of at least 5 years for top-notch health insurance.
Wow, fantastic. So, and now, it's not perfect, but at least now we have an option. Whereas it used to
Mhm.
be, and I'm just talking to folks in the US now because I always hear from my friends around the world that go,
Oh
yeah,
yes.
nee, ha, ha, ha. We don't have to worry about that.
Yeah, when I heard about the
Whatever.
PIP
Sit
in
down.
London, I was like, the what?
I
Like you get
know.
money just
I
that could
know. I
change
know.
that alone could change lives in the United States.
Right, and so could if they get their shit together on this
Oh,
healthcare, but
oh,
I digress.
absolutely.
I digress, and we'll get there, so I'd love to talk with you about that some other time, but, and we have some hope now. Who knows what things can change,
Mhm,
but
mhm,
my point is, that there is healthcare available, so it's always been in this country that we either had to marry somebody's son whose
mhm,
insurance we could be on, and then who knows what happens if he loses his job? Or what if he works
mhm.
for a real, like a tyrant? Well, he
Yeah,
still has to feel like he's got to stay. I mean, healthcare attached to your employer is so
employment. Yeah,
stupid on so many
I-
levels. And then if you're
absolutely.
married and it's your husband's insurance and your husband is a jackass and cheating or beating or whatever, and all these women are stuck in this anyway.
Absolutely.
I'm
It's
thrilled that there there are options available now.
absolutely
Not perfect, but getting better. And at least there's something. A few years
there's
ago,
something.
I was on my husband's insurance, and his company dropped us, and MS is no joke. So that was a scary 3 years, but I was
Hmm.
so grateful that we had the ACA because that had just passed and
Yeah.
I had somewhere to go. Otherwise, where the hell would I have gone?
Yeah.
You know?
You have
So
something.
I
Yeah.
yeah, I just want to say to people, like, don't assume that you have nowhere to go. Look into it and find out if it can work for you because there are options. And if you want to start something and that's going to mean you leaving your position, don't let healthcare be the reason that you don't because there are options. Don't jump
Absolutely.
without knowing those options.
Yeah. Do
But
your
there,
research.
but there's options. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And hopefully they're
Absolutely.
going to be getting better soon. Here's hoping.
I can't wait.
Yeah, and so you're obviously very well versed in um, debt consolidation and all things financial.
Hmm.
And that obviously comes in handy when you have a chronic illness.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
you're making plans so far out. This is so great. And they all revolve around I'll have this much money saved for this and this many months worth of money saved for that. So it's kind of
Hmm.
a bucket mentality almost. Like you
Yeah.
identified the problem and you go, now I have to save this much for that to feel comfortable, right? So,
Yeah. Absolutely.
and we all know what stress does to chronic illness. Well, really to anything,
Hmm.
but it's just more pronounced in us. So we're more careful maybe or should be. So, and I think finances is one of the most stressful subjects for people, and it can really dictate everything about your life. So I think, good for you for being so clear in your plans for all of that. Is that part of what you're going to have in your group coaching program? Are you going to be talking to that?
Yeah, we're definitely going to be talking finances just because one of my key tenets is like self acceptance or just acceptance in general. And it's like radical self acceptance. So, my thing about that is like anything that you're not acknowledging, you're more than likely to run into head first because that's
Mhm.
just like with your illness. If you're like, oh,
True.
ignoring what's going on, you're just going to run into it and butt into it and it's going to hurt you more. When you're acknowledging what's there, it doesn't matter if you don't like it, we don't like this. But it's
Right,
like
right.
once you know it's there, you can create plans to go around it, bust through it, do whatever you need to do. And I try to
True.
make an analogy of like a roadblock. If you're set out in your journey to go to somewhere you can't wait to get, and there's a roadblock in the road, you're not just gonna sit there and look at it, nor are you just gonna turn home. You're gonna go on that detour, and on the
Yeah,
detour, you may find a better way to get to some place you were going that you didn't even know about before. And
right.
now imagine that that roadblock is your chronic illness or your debt.
Yeah,
What are
right.
you going to do? And a lot of people sit
Yeah,
there and ignore it, act like they don't see it, and they're getting nowhere. And
right.
that's not serving them. And so when you have those two things going on, chronic illness and debt, and you're ignoring it and you're saying, oh, I'm going to just continue to have bills because I have a chronic illness. No, like debt is debt regardless of where it came from. And so you
Mhm.
can create a plan to tackle it that gives you some like financial dignity, even if you're not able to do it quickly. Because I know I'm
Mhm.
not going to be able to, I am a one income person. It's just me. I'm managing everything by myself. It's not going to be something that, oh, I paid off such and such amount of debt in a year. It's just that I'm slowly chipping away at it in a methodical way that I've planned
Yeah,
out so
you
that
have a
it gets
plan.
handled.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, you're not ignoring it.
Yeah, I'm not ignoring it. I know it's there. A lot of people don't look at their bank account. They just hope that things go through. And it's like I plan out things where this check I get at this time goes for this amount of weeks. Like my job has switched us from like bi-monthly to bi-weekly. And
Right.
obviously that changed the amount. But I said, no, I'm
Mhm.
gonna pretend as if I'm getting paid just twice a month again. And like this check is for the first to the 15th, even if it comes on the 20th of the month
Right.
before. And then the
Right.
next check is for the 15th to the 30th. So those months when I
Yeah.
get three, now I can throw some to savings and I can throw a chunk to debt and things
Mhm.
like that so that I make sure I plan things out because
Mhm.
otherwise you're going to be hit with surprises. And at this point,
Yeah,
for people with chronic illnesses, we our flares
that's
are
right.
not no longer surprises. So I need to be
Mhm.
able to put money aside every month because if I have a flare, DoorDash is going to be knocking on my door 2 to 3 times a day, and that costs. And I
That does
know
cost.
I can plan for that because
Yes,
I know
right.
I may have a flare. So it's
Yeah,
not a surprise anymore. So I like to just
smart.
plan.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that really dials down your stress if you have a plan. If you're just ignoring, it's still there. You know it's still there. It's
Mm-hmm.
eating away at you, at your psyche on some level.
Yep.
So make a
You're gonna run
plan
into it.
and tackle stuff. Yeah. And you feel
Hmm.
that's empowering. Even if you're
Absolutely.
heavy in debt, if you can make a plan and be tackling and be it's an empowering feeling to be taking something on rather than either ignoring it or
Yeah. And
pretending it
knowing
doesn't
like,
exist.
yeah, and knowing like the small changes you can make. Like I've had people, I have a like a financial like Facebook group too, that people who are just not everybody with chronic illness, just anybody. And so
Mhm.
many people have just gotten completely out of debt because they were looking at what they were doing.
Yeah,
Whether it was eating out or things like that, because you don't realize that $200 extra a month could take you out of debt in 18 months if you have like a
right.
high amount of debt, and you're thinking like it's going to take me 10 years to pay this off
Years.
because that's what it says when you pay the minimum. But if
Right.
you can find $200 that may be
Yeah.
taken from you eating out, or if you're a entrepreneur, it's like maybe that's one more sale.
Yeah, right. Make that
Yeah.
extra income and that can be what takes you out of debt. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's another beautiful thing about chronicpreneurism. How do you market your business?
So right now I'm using mainly Instagram and my email marketing list.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really key. Now, did you start getting, doing an opt-in and start your email list right away, or did you get in
So
there a little bit
I
before?
had an existing email list, and I've kind of been sending stuff to people like, the content has been changing to mostly chronic illness. So if
Hmm.
you're not interested, I won't take anything if you unsubscribe, but if you want to stay,
Right.
feel free to stay and pass on any information and take what you need and, leave the rest. And so
Hmm.
people have pretty much stayed on there as a whole. And so I have those people, and I then have them segmented by, different offers and things like that.
Yeah.
And then my Instagram has been growing pretty fast this past year. It's when I really decided to like lean into more chronic illness content that wasn't just, me, and
Yeah.
sharing more information and details and like tips and tricks. And it's been
Hmm.
really good. And I also have been leveraging Clubhouse when I can. So that's been
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, I'm getting a little excited about that myself. I thought that was just, well, I don't know what I thought it was, honestly, but I'm jumping on like every night now. There's some really good, interesting things on there. It's growing fast.
It is, and I'm
Um,
I'm kind of missing out on a little bit of it because that's kind of my time balance thing. Over December and January, when I had a break from school and work was off, I had a lot more time to be on Clubhouse. But then I had to take off, not as much time on Clubhouse, maybe a few times a week. I have time to be on there now that I had time to be on there every day before. So it's just
yeah,
about tempering what I do. I can't be on there every day, but I can be on there sometimes.
right. Yeah. So that brings me to the next question, which is, do you have any apps or special tools that you find helpful? And I know you mentioned Instagram, and I just wanted to say about that just over the last probably year and a half is where I've really seen people talking about this in terms of their entrepreneurial ventures, just
Hmm.
that Instagram is the place to be. I mean, the truth is, whatever sort of market you're in, where your community is, right? So if
Yes.
they're not on Instagram, it doesn't make
Yeah,
sense for you to be on Instagram.
exactly.
However, it seems like more and more people are on Instagram. So that seems like a
Hmm.
good place. And another one that's really shocked me, and I've done nothing with it, but because there's
The
so much.
LinkedIn.
No,
Oh,
Pinterest. Pinterest
oh
to
yeah,
me was just like when I want to dream a little bit about what I want to put in my backyard or something like that. But
yeah,
I'm hearing from people with businesses that say, "Oh, this is the place to be. Post
yeah.
here and or pin things here and people will find your blog posts and find your podcast." And
Hmm.
so it's on my
And
list,
that's
but I
what
haven't.
and this is another thing. It was on my list for maybe the last year, and I hadn't been able to get over to it. I
Yeah.
recently hired a VA. She's she's redoing my Pinterest, like, and doing all the pins and everything, doing the SEO. I've been meaning to do
Ah,
SEO. She's doing the SEO
yes.
for the pins, SEO for the site, everything, because I knew like, okay, in order to take my business to the next level, I need to add some help here. So
Yeah,
I
you need
added
some help.
help, and she's able to do those little things that I haven't had the time because they're a little meticulous to do, and that's
Yeah.
been a good help. And I know that that's gonna be a great help because Pinterest has become a search engine and it's
Yeah.
very shoppable. So you can sometimes see the trends that are valuable from Instagram and Facebook because they copy everyone and they try
Yes.
to take the things that are meant. So the fact that they're integrating shopping and Pinterest has that too, and it's become a search
Right.
engine. The search function on Facebook and Instagram aren't great. The search
Mm-hmm.
function on Pinterest and Clubhouse for now are excellent. So
Mm-hmm.
Pinterest has that advantage. And as things are moving back towards a like QVC-ish type thing,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
places where you can intuitively shop and sell and buy things like Pinterest are going to be like game
Yeah.
changers. They're adding in like the stories where you can do like things like that, and people probably can shop from those soon if they aren't able to. So
Right.
it's definitely a
Yeah.
good market. Some people, that's their top their source to their website right now is
Yes.
Pinterest.
Yes. I've been hearing the same thing, and I want to do it. And to your point, you know, you've hired a VA, and I think that's really smart. When you can get to a point in your business where you can afford it, and maybe even a little push it a little bit, because if you can look at the return on investment,
Mm-hmm.
um, that is not necessarily, certainly for you and I can say this comfortably, that is not the best use of our time, right? So a
No.
VA couldn't write your coursework or mine, or couldn't do this podcast, right? This is the best
Mm-hmm.
use of my time.
Right.
But hiring somebody else to do that which they specialize in, that isn't going to make me, it's not going to take me away from what I'm doing. And for me to do something like that, first I got to learn it, and then I need to implement it. And the time it's going to take me for all that, it would take
It takes
them a half
so
an
much
hour, bada
much
bing, right?
time, especially with
Yeah.
editing, because I want to be a lot more present. I have a podcast too that does about 2 to 2.5 seasons a year. But editing though sometimes can be tiresome. So she's
Yes.
gonna edit them, and
Oh
then
my
I'm gonna
gosh.
be more present on YouTube this year. I've been posting about a video a week, and during the
Wow.
podcast seasons and some other things, it's gonna be up to 2 videos a week, and she's gonna edit that
Whitney,
video
when
content
in the hell do you take these naps? I don't believe you're napping at
all
all, and I
all the
don't know how you
time.
sleep at night. How is this even possible? You're
I
so
sleep.
busy.
I My bedtime is between 9 and 10. Granted, I sometimes I'm up on the phone doing stuff as ideas come to me. So about
Right?
12, and I sleep in, and I'm good to go get under the weighted blanket and take a 20-minute nap. I'm just about to look into ordering one for my new office at my job, and I'm gonna make sure that I have like a
Good
comfy
plan.
chair or something,
Yeah.
because don't bother me at my lunch or break because I may be laying
Right.
here. I say I'm recharging like the phone under my weighted blanket. It's like, if
Right.
you want the best of me, you're not gonna bother me while I'm
Right.
recharging.
Oh, I love that. I do love that.
Yeah, so I
Do you
I do
mind?
a lot of things. Even when you were saying that, it's like, how
Oh
was
my
I able to pay
gosh.
for the VA? It's like my friend is a pretty popular YouTuber, and she has a
Mhm.
book club. So I actually help her facilitate the community there, and I get paid for
Okay.
that. So I use that money
Perfect.
plus some to pay for my VA because I know that's constant money coming in. Plus I have some
Yeah.
other money coming in, so I can afford to pay for my VA because I know I have that money coming in. It goes right back
Right.
out to her plus some,
Right.
but it's working. I'm
Yeah.
gonna start being able to get newsletters out. I'm not gonna have to worry about editing. People are gonna find me easier now with the SEO, and it's
Right.
just gonna be great.
Yeah. It will increase your reach, which will increase your clients, which increases your
Exactly.
money, which increases your happy. Let's
Oh
be
yeah, I
honest.
cannot wait.
So where did you find your VA? Was it like a VA service, or is somebody knew somebody else, or how did you do that?
Yeah, so I started looking at a VA service, and like I was like, I don't know if I didn't write my ad well or if everybody was just applying that didn't meet the skills, and I was just kind of frustrated. So I went to my friend who's the one who suggested it, and because that's where she found her VA that she's been using for a year. And so I just got to the point, I was like, well, does your VA have any room for any more clients? And she was like, I'll ask her. And luckily enough, she
She did.
did.
Oh, good.
And
Okay.
I interviewed her, and it was just like a match made in heaven. Like we got along, we
Ah,
worked well together, which I know that doesn't happen for everybody. Just because a VA works for one person does not mean they meet your needs. But this instant, it worked really well. Our working styles are very good. We play off. She's interested in the topic. She was a nurse, and so like it works.
wow.
It works really
Yeah,
well
that's great.
for us together. And then she just I think I started her at like 10 hours a week. She's up to 15 now. My friend was like, don't you dare take up all her
Right.
hours.
Don't take
I
my
was
help.
like,
That was going to be my next question. Is it per project? Is it per hour? So it's just straight per hour? Okay, great. Excellent. So interesting. I really would like to do that too, but I don't know. Now I'm getting inspired to do that because that would be so helpful to me, but I wasn't sure. I need to find somebody very specific that I love that you were saying like she can handle the SEO. I need somebody that's got background in a lot of things but isn't going to charge an arm and a leg. And how do you find those
yeah,
folks? I don't know.
yeah, it's
Um,
hard. But yeah, we can talk about that
yeah.
too later. Yeah.
Okay, so back to the kind of apps and special tools.
Oh,
I
yeah.
often talk about I've recently, like in the last couple months, and you and I talked about this before I hit record. So, started using Calendly, which I love.
Hmm.
It has literally revolutionized my life. It's just freed
Hmm.
up so much of my time, and I don't go back and forth and all those reasons. Do you have any apps or special tools like that that you recommend?
Yes. So
Okay,
I
good.
was using Acuity, but now I'm going to be switching to Calendly.
Yay.
It's like I'm doing all this switching because like I want to make all my tools like integrate well with each other. And as
Yeah.
my business, I anticipate my business growing this year. I'm actually investing in more tools. So I'm actually going to be switching also to HoneyBook to make my automations.
Oh,
And so
yeah.
I know they work directly with Acuity and they also work with QuickBooks. I was at FreshBooks, but now I'm going over to QuickBooks
Okay. Okay.
because of that. So I'm trying to get all my tools to integrate, and I use Teachable now, but I may be leaving Teachable um,
Okay.
to go to a more holistic platform. I know a lot of people use Mighty Networks, but I'm kind of investigating some other ones. So I won't say yet until I can use it.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
just like because not everybody's on Facebook. And if
Right.
you want to build a community with your tribe, you want them to be able to connect and not have
Yes.
to create a Facebook. And then you want to be also to be something if Facebook is down and it's your lesson night, then what happens?
Right. Right.
So
Yes.
you want to have something that you can kind of do a little more control over. So I'm just kind
Yeah.
of looking into those systems. And also, what I'll say is what's been good for me lately as I've been adding on more things is being able to have a realistic idea of what your time is. So I use Toggle Track a
Mm,
lot of days to track my time. And so you can
okay.
set up like projects and like categories that they go into, and then you can really see how you're using your time. And so one day I just did it naturally, like, let me just record everything I'm doing. And like I was doing as much social media time, just not work related social media time,
Right.
as like a lot of other things. And I was like, I need to cut that back because a lot of times we think we don't have time,
Yes.
but it's
Right.
like you do
The
have the
reality
time. You're just
is, yes,
using it
you're
somewhere
allocating
else.
it incorrectly. Right.
Exactly. And it's like I have
Yes.
school, I have work, I have business, I have social time. I need time to relax and take in like stuff because I also noticed that in the fall I wasn't consuming content. And that's a problem
Mm,
too. So I was like
mhm.
stretched and it's like, okay, nope, I need to create time to just consume things because a
Mhm.
lot of times that's where my inspiration comes from.
Yeah.
So I need to make that time. That time is important too. So it just has
Mhm.
to be balanced. So
Yeah.
I like really like Toggle Track for that. And I'm trying to think if there's anything else
Very
I use.
cool. Very cool.
Mojo
I'm
is a good app
Mojo. Never heard of
for
it.
posts onto Instagram. They make really cool stories or posts.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. So it's like a scheduler for Instagram.
No, it's actually like a content creator.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
so it makes some like
Okay.
cool posts to use. Yeah.
All right. I gotta go check that out. Thank you for all those.
Yeah.
Um, it sounds like you recognize and use systems, tools, and organization for everything in your life. Is that fair to
Yeah.
say?
Yeah. Very much so.
Yeah. And that makes a big difference, doesn't it? I keep going back to the stress, but I think those three things right there can help dial down your stress so much and keep you on track. And
Hmm.
it seems like you are a walking advertisement for all of that because
Yeah,
you
like if
seem to
you
do that
know
a lot.
about things, you can plan for anything. And a lot of times, especially when you're an entrepreneur, you have to recognize that a lot of your deadlines are self-imposed.
Mm-hmm.
So we're creating stress upon ourselves. So if you look at your calendar and it
True.
looks like it's too much, know that you have the power to change that. You don't have to release everything in the first quarter. You don't have to release it in the first half of the year. Spread it out, do it what makes sense to you, because when you write down everything you have that you need to do, you then need to look at your capacity. Yeah, I
Yes.
want to make XYZ this month, but that will require me to take 15 clients. Do I have a
Right.
15 client capacity?
Yeah.
No, I may have a 7 client capacity. So that either means I need to have another source or I may need to charge more.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So look at the overall picture and then figure it out based on capacity
Hmm.
and stress level. All that stuff needs to come into play. But I love how you utilize all these tools,
Hmm.
including your organization, and your systems and everything. I mean, I just think I want to encourage everybody, especially if you're just starting out, like start strong that way, because having to go back and clean up that mess where you
Hmm.
just started out and said, well, I'll figure that out later. If you can start out and stay organized, it's going to
Yeah.
just
Always
revolutionize.
build incrementally as you can, because
Yeah.
people like to say people go from 0 to 100. But even people who go to 0 to 100 have to go back and build steps 1 through 99 at some point.
Right.
So
Yeah.
just go ahead and start building.
Start early.
Yeah.
Start early and stay strong. I love it.
Hmm.
Um, okay, the big question. What advice would you give to other chronics who want to do something more flexible or remote, either full time or a side hustle? What's your best
I
advice?
would say the best advice I could give you is to believe in yourself and
Mm,
not settle for less than what you want. If you're going to be
mm,
making a transition in your life, know that you have certain requirements. And
yeah.
those requirements need to be met for either the life you want to live or what you need in your life. And don't settle for anything less than that, because you're going to be in the same place unhappy with what it is. So stay firm. And my thing is what I don't know if people are religious or not, but I'm a Christian. And so I've gotten to the point where my prayer to God is when an opportunity comes, I say, if it's not for me, please reject me.
Mm,
And it's not so much that, I don't want to give myself the chance to mess up and say, oh, well, I think I need this and let me just do it.
mm,
And it's not right. It's like, just take it away from me. And so
yeah.
that it is taking off the burden of feeling bad about rejections, because I'm like, that wouldn't have served me. And I wouldn't have
Mm-hmm.
been able to do things like when opportunities come up and they look good, maybe there's a lot of money. It's like that would not have worked for the life I wanted to live, or that would
Mm-hmm.
not have worked for what I want to build in my business in terms of working a 9 to 5 and having a business, or I would not
Right.
have been able to continue my doctoral program if that had worked out. It's like I
Right.
want the opportunities to flow to me that are for me. So
Yeah.
asking for those types of things and not being afraid to reject things that don't quite fit what you need.
And don't get hurt by rejection. When you brought up rejection, that made me think, because that can be a gift on the back end,
Oh, it
right?
absolutely is every time. I really can't
Yeah.
think of a time where I was rejected that it didn't turn out to be for the best.
That's a good thing to remember. Okay, Miss Whitney, if people want to learn more about you or your online business and this wonderful coaching, where do they go?
So you go to my Instagram is the Whitney West, and my website is thewhitneywest.com. And you can find me pretty much everywhere at the Whitney West, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube.
All over the place.
And my
Excellent.
podcast is When It Happens.
Oh, love it. Okay, super.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your story with us, Whitney. Really appreciate it. You're very inspirational, and I'm grateful for you to have spent this time with us today. I wish you all the best in your chronicpreneur endeavors and everything in your health and your life. And thank you
Thank
so much. And
you.
please come back again.
Of course. I can't wait. Yes.
Oh, excellent. Well, thanks again. Appreciate it. Take care.
Thanks.